Welcome to the Coping Podcast, where we share strategies for coping with the stressors of life, especially the difficulties of parenting. And here is your host, Dr. Lee Weisz.
This is Dr. Lee Weisz. I am the host of the Coping Podcast, where I feature top experts on topics like raising healthy children, parenting, and so much more. Thanks for tuning into this special Best Of episode. On this edition of the show, we'll take a look back at some of our favorite moments from previous conversations. It's brought to you by Coping Partners. Coping Partners is a mental health practice in the Chicago suburbs dedicated to helping children, adolescents, and adults. We help manage various challenges, including anxiety, divorce, behavioral issues, relationship problems, and much more. Check out more episodes of our podcast and our website at copingpartners.com, and you can contact us with any questions you have. Now, let's take a look back at some of our favorite memories from previous conversations.
Just a quick disclaimer, the information provided is for educational and informational purposes only. This is not intended to provide mental health treatment and does not constitute a client-therapist relationship. The information provided is not a replacement for being assessed and evaluated by a licensed professional and is not intended to replace mental health or medical advice.
So again, ear, nose, and throat is maybe an esoteric thing, because if I'm not having a scope or a microscope, you really can't see, beyond what you can see with an iPhone light, which it's fine. By the way, let me also say, that's fine if you look at your throat. I use Q-tips every once in a while. People can just do what they want to do, and they probably will anyway. But some things people can get a little intense about. The most fun thing I remember was residency was in Columbus, Ohio. So I was 45 minutes south, and I was very young in my training. So looking at an ear and taking out a rock, a pebble in a 5 or 6 year old. Oh. Took it out. So proud of myself. The pro move though is to look back in and just make sure the ear canal and eardrum are okay. And there was a second pebble.
Oh.
And I was exclaiming to the room. I was I found another one.
There's so many different emotional regulation skills. I would say knowing yourself. For one person, a really slow, gentle breath is super helpful. But for some people who might have a sensitivity to their breath, sometimes doing square breathing, the idea of slowing down your breath does send a signal to your brain. Mm-hmm. I'm okay. So, and it could be, you kind of breathe, we could try it together. So we're going to breathe in for 4, and then we're going to hold for 4. It's a square, and then breathe out for 4, and then hold for 4. And what we're trying to work against is when we're in fight or flight mode, we're we might not even know we're hyperventilating, because it could just be tiny little rapid breaths, but our body we're taking all this oxygen because our brain thinks we need to fight or breathe or flee. And so it's all this fuel because something big's happening. So by taking in less, slowing down, and taking less oxygen, we're sending a signal I don't actually need all this fuel, because there's not a true problem. So it does help, unless people get really stuck on their breath.
I think also just the emotional discomfort piece, or frustration tolerance, however we want to term that. If the parents can let them feel what they're feeling and just listen and be there, that would give them a life skill as well. So, I'm thinking about grief and loss. I just had a client who was struggling with that. And, of course we all do when we are having to deal with something so sad and so difficult. But I've had families where a pet fish dies and they replace the fish before the kiddo could ever know. Or the teenager's dog dies and the parent says to the teenager, let's go get a new one. Let's go to the farm and we're going to pick out a new one who's going to be the same type. And come on, we're going to go. And trying to quickly distract the kiddo, or the teenager in this case, as opposed to just letting them process that and be sad and cry and be angry. And it's okay. That's part of life. We need to be able to do that and model it for our kids. But I think, again, parents are so uncomfortable sometimes watching their kids be sad, be depressed, be lonely, be, whatever, fill in the blank, that they do what they can to get them out of it prematurely. And so the kiddo or the teenager never really can fully process that experience and know I can get through this. And it was hard. And I know that I can do it again when I need to.
Part of the reason is because they're really living their life in a state of threat, in that anxious threat Q state, we call it, which we also teach about. And so if you think about it, when we're really anxious, it's really, really hard to genuinely smile. It's really, really hard to signal friendly, cooperative intentions. What we're signaling to the world is self-consciousness when we're feeling really anxious, as opposed to friendly intentions, which is, by the way, when I work with teens or young adults, that's what they want to signal. They want to signal, hey, I like you. Yeah. Or, and that I want to talk to you more, but they're so anxious, they're not signaling that. And so it's kind of like this vicious loop in the cycle that kind of people get stuck in, because if you're signaling more closed behaviors and like more flat facial expressions or constricted, people aren't going to engage because we're just, those friendly intentions aren't.
Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Awareness is the first step here, right? Awareness is the first step of just checking in with what goes on in that brain. And I sometimes with my teen clients talk about it. We have a bestie brain and a bully brain. Yes. The bully brain is the one that's telling you, you can't do that. Who do you think you are? What's wrong with you? And I call it the bestie brain because you would never say those things to your best friend. But we reserve that self-talk for ourselves. Right. And then the bestie brain is like, you can do it. And if that seems like too much a leap, it's, you can try. Right. I believe in you. Right. There's nothing wrong with you. Right. And so we have this spectrum of thoughts. But if we don't first become aware of what it is that we're thinking and don't lean into this possibility that our thoughts are not facts, then we can't change them. And if we follow the breadcrumbs of our thoughts cause our feelings are also what then drive our actions. So if we think about a teenager in class of, I don't know the right answer and I'm going to die of embarrassment if I say it wrong, chances are you're not going to raise your hand. Right. But if you think, I'm willing to try, I believe in myself, the worst case scenario ain't that bad. The best case scenario is I'm going to learn something, then probably you'll raise your hand. Right. But so it's really important that we look at our thoughts. Yes, because it makes us feel better. We have the opportunity to change how we're feeling, but it also then drives our actions of what we do and don't do in our lives.
Thank you for listening to the Coping Podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes. And check out our podcast page at copingpartners.com.